and welcome to Station 4 of the Fossil Lab. This station is called Petrifaction, Turn to Stone. So at this station, you're going to be examining 4 different items. 2 of them are fossils, and 2 of them are present-day original material. So at this station, you're going to identify an item as present-day wood, present-day bone, fossilized wood, and fossilized bone. And then you're going to examine some pieces of sponge. One is normal sponge, and the other has been altered to reflect or resemble what the process of petrifaction is. So we've already talked about petrified fossils, petrified remains. I shared with you that in these original materials, and just let me show you one that's obvious here. In these original materials, there are pore spaces. So the pore spaces in this material, in the center of it, are obvious. So imagine that this material is buried underground and water flows through the soil and the rock and through this material, and that water carries with it minerals that are dissolved. And as the water flows through those pore spaces, some of the dissolved minerals in the water precipitate out of solution and fill the holes. So when the holes are filled, that's not all that happens. The original material, the bone or the wood, depending on what it is, the original material, the bone or the wood, will then be decomposed and will be dissolved away. And then those new pore spaces will fill with more mineral material. So eventually all of the original material is gone and has been completely replaced with mineral material. All right, so I'm going to show you each of these objects one at a time. We'll start with the one that we've already looked at. This one is labeled number 3. And you can see that the outer side is kind of glossy. This particular piece is kind of smooth on the outside. It's a kind of an off-white, slightly grayish white. The center of it has many different pores. Having trouble getting it to come into focus. And then the outer edge doesn't seem to have as many pores, but they're there. They're just very tiny. So that is number 3. Number 4 is this. And this object is very, very lightweight. If I look at the end, you can see that it also has some pore spaces as well. It's fairly smooth, but there are some pieces that seem to be a little splintered, like right here. That can be lifted up. Okay. All right, that was item number 4. So item number 1 is this rock. And this rock, here's some distinctive features here. There are obvious pores or pore-like, it looks like the remains of pore-like structure. There's some banding there. And there's some other banding as well. It almost looks like it could be somewhat layered on the bottom. That's what the bottom looks like. Trying to get this at different light so you can see the different colors and patterns. All right, that's number 1. And finally, we have number 2. This is number 2. And it also has some striations. Interesting striations on that end. More striations. Okay. So each of these objects get matched up in this particular activity. You're going to match up one of the original materials, the present day original materials, to one of the fossils, and the other present day original material to the other fossil. So the idea is to get them matched up correctly. So you might want to go ahead and pause the video and do that portion. And then when you're done with that portion, then there's a couple more questions regarding the sponges. So let me show you the sponges. So we have one green sponge. There's the edge. And the green sponge I can easily compress so that all the pore spaces, or most of the pore spaces, are no longer visible. Okay. And the other sponge is blue, but it appears that many of the pore spaces have been filled with something. And when I compress it, it's much harder to compress. And I cannot squeeze it down to the degree that the green one can be compressed. Okay. All right, and those are the two sponges. All right, thank you for watching this video. This was Station 4, petrifaction.